What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode of Walk on Wisdom, where I, being a non-expert in anything but know a little bit about a few things, been around the block a couple times, answer your questions that you send in to podcast@michaelchandler.com. So send in your questions if you have them, if you are enjoying the content, if you're enjoying the answers, if you're enjoying the audio, the video, wherever you're watching. I appreciate you guys. God bless. See you at the top. First question comes from Luis. Hey, Mike, big fan of yours. Always rooting for you. Looking forward to you holding the belt. My question is, I have my goals and aspirations, so I'm always putting the work in order to achieve what I want for my future. The problem is, when I reach a certain point of success, a couple of times later, I'm always looking forward to the next goal. This means that I'm never satisfied. I struggle to enjoy the things I achieve. For example, I just finished my bachelor degree and I'm currently working in a company, but the thing is that I'm already looking for my next job with a better position. It's hard for me to enjoy the present. How do you deal with this? Greetings from Peru. Thank you so much for inspiring people, Luis. Luis, what a phenomenal question. And as I said, I'm not an expert in anything, but I have been a serial nonstop constant my entire life, underappreciating myself and under-congratulating myself for the things that I have accomplished. And I think it comes from, if I can be completely candid, I think it comes from somewhat of an insecurity. I'm speaking for myself, but maybe this holds true to you, Luis, or anybody else listening. I think it comes from a little bit of an insecurity that we say, hey, where I'm at isn't where I want to be. So therefore, what I just accomplished doesn't deserve a round of applause. It doesn't deserve a pat on the back. And it took me a really long time. I think it took me until I actually went through that loss streak that I've talked about, 688 days without winning a fight, that I finally realized the one thing that was holding me back was the fact that I was constantly looking forward to the next thing that I needed to accomplish. And every time I did accomplish something, it didn't really mean much because I was supposed to accomplish it anyway. But once I went through that experience where I really was downtrodden, I really did have really, really deep-seated dark self-image issues, I realized that in order to really love what I'm doing, in order to really love life, in order for other people to really love me, and for me to be able to unlock the love that the people in my life deserve, I have to really, really love myself. And part of loving yourself is when you do have an accomplishment, or even if you have a menial task, a small accomplishment, take a moment and say, good job. Take a moment and say, well done. Write it in your journal and say, today I'm proud of myself because I did this. Today I'm proud of myself because I accomplished this big thing, or I accomplished this small thing. And once again, as we talk about, God's word says it, if you want to be trusted with the big things, or given the big things, I'm paraphrasing, given the big things, you have to first be trusted with the small things. So in order to accomplish those large, big, audacious goals in life, you first have to be grateful for and proud of yourself for the small things. So I'm not saying have an overblown ego that, you accomplish every little tiny things and every little tiny thing, and you tell every single person around you and you brag about it, but you can have a quiet moment to yourself and say, Michael, good job, man. Think about where you came from. Think about the fears that you had. Think about the obstacles that you overcame. Think about the insecurities, and even the people that said you couldn't, and you who said you couldn't, but you did it. And maybe you're not, maybe this isn't where you want to be. Maybe this isn't your big, long-term, full goal that you want. But today I am proud of myself because I did this thing. And take a moment to pat yourself on the back, because I never, ever did that. I would accomplish something and people would say, good job, man. I'm like, it doesn't matter, man. We got to keep going. Got to keep pounding the pavement. Got to keep running through the brick wall. Got to keep putting the reps in. Got to keep putting the time in. But in order to enjoy the next time, in order to enjoy the next accomplishment, you have to first be grateful for and proud of yourself for the things that you are currently accomplishing, the things that you are currently checking off your list. Living one more day in happiness, peace, joy, contentment, living one more day serving people, living one more day gaining ground between you and that goal is an accomplishment in and of itself. And the man who wants the destination more than the man who enjoys the process You're going to be far better off if you enjoy the process. And part of enjoying the process is, even though it feels a little bit uncomfortable, because it felt very uncomfortable for me, to start really loving myself, because I never want to sit here, look at you talking into this microphone and say, hey man, I'm proud of myself for this. I love myself. I am happy with myself, my life, what I've accomplished, what I've done, because it feels somewhat arrogant. It feels somewhat narcissistic. And that's why I've harped on so much over these last couple of years: win, lose, draw, every single thing that I accomplished or fail at, my God still loves me, my family still loves me, and I still love me. And that I still love me was the hardest part about it, mainly because it's really hard to love yourself when you're not acknowledging it. So, Luis, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for asking this question, because I know a lot of people just got a lot of value out of it, because we tend to over amplify and we tend to overemphasize other people's accomplishments, and we underemphasize and we sweep under the rug and we pass on by our own accomplishments. So love yourself more, congratulate yourself more, pat yourself on the back a little bit more, stop and smell the roses every now and then and say, I, Luis, I, Michael, never thought I would be able to accomplish this thing, and I did. Therefore, I'm going to take a moment today to say, I love you, I love me, and I love what I'm doing, and I'm going to continue to move forward, and I am going to celebrate the small victories. So then and only then can I be trusted with the gratitude of loving myself through and congratulating myself when I get to the big victory. Great question, Luis. I appreciate you all the way from Peru. Next question from Steven. Hi, Mike. Currently in my life, I've felt like an unfruitful burden to my parents. I'm finally maturing enough to see all the struggle that has gone into me and feel debilitating guilt. How do you, as an active achiever who appears to always move forward, deal with a sense of duty/obligation to someone? Do you find it a healthy source of motivation, or ever suffer from feeling unworthy of someone's pain? And what advice would you give? Thanks. I appreciate everything you do and hope to replicate your energy in my own life and give back to the world like you appear you have. Stephen, what you're dealing with, whether it's parents, whether for me, it's my, I have the same certain feelings toward my parents every now and then, the way that I have lived my life, or the way that I have gone on and done all of these different things and maybe neglected them, or even now here at my house between my four walls, loving and serving my wife and my kids, but also feeling a little bit of guilt that I have to be selfish at times. I have to turn on the fighter, the businessman, the achiever, the goal seeker. And I have to turn off okay, right now I can't be dad. Right now I can't be husband. Right now I can't be friend at times. And it's hard. It's a really hard thing for somebody who is trying to go accomplish things, to find the fine line between loving the people in their lives, serving the people in their lives, and also being selfish enough to go and pursue what they need to pursue so they can become the man or woman that they need to become in order to be selfless and love themselves enough to be at a happy and healthy, content point to be able to become the person that they need to be to the people in their lives. Currently, you have felt like an unfruitful burden to your parents. And I think family life, as you're growing, whether you're still under your parents' roof, whether you have left the house, whether you're off on your own, but you're still somewhat, as you called it, a burden to them, or you still somewhat need them in so many different ways. You're still somewhat in your journey, still needing your parents and feeling like you have let them down, because it's one of the things that I have struggled with at times, but I do flip it on its head and reverse engineer it and use it as motivation. Mike and Betty Chandler, my mom and dad, worked 2 and 3 jobs, seemingly nonstop. And we were a middle-class family from High Ridge, Missouri, and they worked nonstop to serve and take care of and protect and support myself and my 2 brothers. So then when I have gotten that privilege of them taking care of me and putting me and setting me up for success, then I go out and continue to pursue what I'm doing. And we sometimes get caught up in okay, well, now I've changed the guard and I've kind of ripped open a new life for myself, and I'm coming out of the nest, so to speak. I'm coming out of the house, so to speak. I'm going to go run headfirst into my dreams. And that's exactly what I did, but it didn't come with a certain sense of guilt that, okay, well, I'm leaving all of that behind, but the only reason I'm here is because of them. So the biggest thing that I would say is what I have tried to do and have failed time and time again, or at least in my own mind, I think I have failed time and time again. Just say thank you more. You'd be really surprised. I mean, even now, my son is only 6 years old, and I know someday he's going to go off, and my son Ace is only 9 months old, and someday he's going to go off. And I want them to go accomplish everything that they want to go accomplish. But just a phone call, just a thank you, just a, hey, I acknowledge what you did for me, the sacrifices that you made. You'd be very surprised, I'm sure, how much that would mean to your parents. And even if you have been the biggest mess up, the biggest dummy at times, made so many mistakes, felt like a huge burden, felt like a weight, a 600-pound gorilla on their chest, on their shoulders at times, or at least you have made that up in your mind that that's what you have been. All of that is still never enough for your parents to not be 100% proud of you as you continue to turn the corner. So I always say, as I said, I reverse engineered and I flipped it on its head, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to go out and every single day I'm going to work extremely hard, because to give anything less than my best every single day is to sacrifice the gifts that Mike and Betty Chandler made, or the sacrifices that they made, or the gifts that they gave me, or the support that they gave me. So I think just be a little bit more cognizant of it, make more time. And it's a great question. So anybody who feels like a burden out there, you're probably a lot less of a burden than you actually think you are. We make these scenarios up in our heads, and we write them on our hearts in permanent ink. And it seems like they can't be erased. And it's just our identity that we are a burden. I can tell you right now, Stephen, God did not create you to be a burden. You are not a burden. You might feel like a burden, and you may have been a burden for a season, but you're not a burden for life. People can change, and they can change dramatically. And I believe that for you. Great question, though. From Joseph, next one. What's up, Michael? Working hard or hardly working? I won't take too much of your time. So I'm Joseph, 27 years old, weighing 125 to 135. Doctors tell me I developed a fast metabolism as I am a skateboarder naturally since like a small kiddo. Still very active in skateboarding, MMA, BJJ. As I consistently have been working out and eating more, I still don't seem to gain weight, or I at least gain very gradually. I have made this challenge to myself since 2019, which was to find out what it takes to make it to Dana White's Contender Series. And since then, I picked up Muay Thai, kickboxing, BJJ. I'm skinny, but got a frame and building muscle a bit more lately. It's been challenging as I have my own apartment and a decent job, but now have more free time for my goals. Number 1, Dana White Contender Series. Number 2, gain weight up to 145 if possible. Any advice, tips, or words of wisdom? Thank you. Shout out from Victorville, California. Joseph from Victorville, California. Well, number 1, you got your goals written down. That's extremely important. Write them down, see them, visualize them, and journal and write them down, and tell yourself how you're going to accomplish each one of those things. As far as anybody who has a fast metabolism, or, let's be honest, health and fitness there's a struggle in every single one of us. If, there's a million people out there on the world right now who would love to have a fast metabolism and be having the quote unquote, air quotes, problem of being skinny because they are overweight. So health and fitness it's a struggle, because if you're skinny, you want to gain weight. If you've gained weight or you're overweight, you want to be more skinny. And once again, going back to the previous questions, it all goes back to that self-image. But as far as this practically, I mean, the biggest thing that you can do, honestly, if you want to gain weight, you have to lift weights, you have to eat clean, but also eat a lot of protein shakes, a lot of however you like to get your protein. Me, I prefer meat. I love eggs. I love beef. I love chicken. I love elk. I love wild game. I love it all. Protein heavy meals, lifting weights, being on a plan, getting a plan like you, whether it be online, whether it be hiring a trainer. That's part of the reason why I launched Walk On Fitness, walkonfit.com, coming up with programs for people who wanted to either lean out or gain muscle mass. There's so much information out there, but the biggest thing that you have to do is you have to eat a lot of protein, and lift weights. That's really all you can do. And then as far as getting on to Contender Series, be in the gym, working out, finding a good coach, a good mentor, and good training partners wherever you're at. And then continue to believe that you're going to end up there. And hopefully you will. So Victorville, California, Joseph, I appreciate you. And hopefully I'll see you on Dana White Contender Series very soon. From Georgie, DJORDJE, Georgie. Hi, Mike. I've been working out for nearly 3 years, started very skinny and managed to add 20 kilograms of solid muscle. The problem is I was too obsessed with the idea of adding muscle and weight, but never stretched after workouts. My mobility is very, very poor. So what kind of stretching would you recommend? When? How many times a week? Also, do you ever visualize a success while stretching out? Because it seems like a great thing to do. Well, Georgie, number one, congratulations if that was your goal of adding 20 kilos of solid muscle. That is awesome. But yes, obviously, as we grow, as we add muscle, as we break down those muscle fibers and build them and gain weight or mass, if you will, you're going to ultimately lose a little bit of flexibility. And now that you have gotten to that point, you have to kind of somewhat turn back the hands of time. But trust me, we've all seen videos of very large people who have muscle mass, or even people who are somewhat overweight who have a ridiculous amount of flexibility. So the flexibility will be in there. I'd say my biggest keys are a really good dynamic warm-up every single time that you work out, or even making an entire quote unquote workout a dynamic movement workout. We have a dynamic warm-up on every single one of our days and workouts on Walk On Fitness. Because I use a dynamic warm-up every single day. I'm doing hurdles, I'm doing dynamic movements and dynamic stretching, not doing a ton of static stretching, to be honest with you, but I use my roller. My hyper ice gun every single day. So every single day when I am working, right before I'm working out, I'm spending about 20 minutes basically head to toe on my roller, a very firm roller. Obviously, if you're putting on 20 kilos of solid muscle, you need probably a pretty dense, harder roller. And what you're doing there is you're just moving around and breaking up and lengthening those muscles through the myofascial release, especially in your problem areas. We all have certain problem areas. For me, I do have tight hamstrings often, tight hips. But I really do notice if I'm very diligent with my roller every single day for 2-3 weeks straight, I feel like a new man. My knees don't ache as much. Elbows don't ache as much, shoulders don't ache as much, because we are lengthening and breaking up that myofascial, or the myofascia, the fascia, if you will, and getting the myofascial release, as well as body work. And then, some static stretching, which is a great time to visualize, whether it's waking up the first thing in the morning and making your stretch routine, visualizing your day, getting in your journal, making your list of tasks that you need to do. So that's a great time to visualize. But congratulations on adding that much solid muscle. That is awesome. And I'm excited to see what your next question is, and give us an update, Georgie. Next one is from Anonymous. Hey, Michael, I'd like to remain anonymous. I'm loving the Walk On Fitness app. How do you suggest I find a good weight to complete all of the reps with? I'm worried I'll be too exhausted with the volume if I go too heavy on certain exercises. Also, how much weight should I be looking to add week to week for the 4-week programs of the upper body and lower body programs? See you at the top. Great question. So the way that we designed it really was, obviously I'm doing a certain weight. We broke it up into lightweight, moderate weight, or heavyweight based upon the programming, what week it was, what muscle groups we're really trying to target, whether it's the lower body program, the upper body program, or the 6-week explosive program, train like an athlete program with Jeremy Holt, my trainer here in Nashville. The progression, I mean, the hardest thing is obviously with what we're programming, I'm not there with you to see what the struggle is, to see how easy or hard it was. The one thing that we really wanted to get across was don't do the same weights that I'm doing if you can't do them. And do more than me if you can do them. Fitness is a journey that starts with a strong foundation. We want to build a strong foundation first. So even though, use the word exhausted, even though you see my videos, you see my workouts, you see me out there looking like I'm dying, I do push myself often, but I know my limitations and I usually know what I can, after 22 years now of lifting weights, I know what I can and cannot do when it comes to weights, and I know when to back off. I know when to go heavy, and I know when to back off a little bit. But never underemphasize or it can't be understated how much even just going through our programs, whether it be 4 sets of 8 reps or 4 sets of 12 reps or 3 sets of whatever, doing lighter weights, leaning on the side of lighter weights as you go through the beginning of the program, and then start incrementally going up, even if it's just 10 pounds, 5 and 5 on each side. Even if it's 20 pounds total, maybe one day you're feeling great, you're feeling loose, you're feeling froggy, and you're feeling great. You want to add 20 pounds, 25 pounds. It's really hard to know unless we're really up there. But I would say going up a small percentage each day, or even every single set. If you're doing 4 sets, throw 10 pounds on each set and see if you can finish it. If you can, then the next time start at that 3rd rep or that 3rd set weight and start there, and then go up 10 pounds each time. The biggest thing is just doing the reps. I've always said that as long as you're doing the reps, you're going to see the results. Whether it's a lightweight, a moderate weight, or a very heavy weight, you're going to see the results. And you want to build that strong foundation. That was the great thing about our leg program, or our lower body program, upper body program. You can do them in succession. You can go do the 4-week lower body program and then turn it into an 8-week lower body program by starting over. And of course, we're already formulating more to add lower body 2.0, lower body 3.0 as we continue to build out the app. But the biggest thing that I want to emphasize is start with a strong foundation, start building a strong foundation, and continue to build from there. And that's not just in fitness. That's not just in weightlifting. That's in everything. That's me building a foundation right now with this Walk On Wisdom, where it's just me right now, to eventually turn it into when I'm sitting here at the desk with Ed Milet, and I'm sitting here with David Meltzer. I'm sitting here with awesome people who I admire, starting to build a strong foundation and then building upon that. So thank you for the question. From Thomas, next one. What's up, Mike? How do you deal with pre-fight anxiety or anxiety in general with high pressure situations? See you at the top. Tommy, good question. As I have said in the past, I don't deal with a lot of fear or anxiety leading up to a fight, but I've said that my lack of fear or my comfortability in the moment has everything to do with my preparation. If you've done everything right, if you've left no stone unturned in your preparation, if you did not just what was asked of you, but you did more than what was asked of you, then ultimately, when the bright lights come on for me and it's time to go out there and that cage door closes, or for you, it's walking into a boardroom or walking into a handshake and a meeting with the guy or gal who's going to give you that promotion, or you're going into your boss's office to ask for a raise or starting a business, whatever it may be. Have you done the work? Have you been diligent in your preparation? Have you all, and most importantly, have you already been there in your mind, in your mind's eye? I was already in the cage with every single guy that I stepped in the cage with, in my mind, hundreds of times by visualizing it, whether it be 2 minutes in the morning, in the evening, or an hour sometimes, whether it be writing things down, doing film study, and then visualizing myself, visualizing not just the positive things, but what happens when things go wrong inside of the confines of the contest. How do I see myself getting out of certain situations? Because then when I see myself getting out of certain situations, whether it be a choke, whether it be a takedown, whether it be on the ground and he's on top of me, whether it be my cardio waning, whether it be me not being able to land punches, me being in these disadvantageous scenarios where I can see myself ultimately becoming the victor, ultimately getting out of them, and not just getting out of the bad situation, but overcoming the adversity. I just did a mental rep of seeing myself be successful in overcoming the odds. We overemphasize the reps that we do in the gym, the reps we do in the boardroom, the reps we do in the physical form, and we underemphasize the reps that we can do inside of our mind. So Thomas, go into any scenario, any conversation, any opportunity that you have, be there in your mind's eye before you have actually been there. And if you haven't been well versed in visualization, I've thrown around a couple ideas. I think I want to do a series on visualization. I might even do some guided visualizations because I think it's so undervalued and it's so underemphasized and appreciated, because we think we can just wake up, our eyes open, we are awake, and we just go throughout our day. And we haven't been in many of those scenarios in our mind's eye before we've been there. And it sounds foo-foo, and it sounds rah-rah, and it sounds a little bit like magic. But it really is real, and you can really see a difference and realize a difference when you really start visualizing things before you actually get there. So thank you for the opportunity for me to go there, Thomas. I appreciate you. From Martin, the next one. Martin says, "Hey, Mike, super fan. Been following you since the Bellator days. You're a true hero and inspiration. Never miss a podcast or walk-on episode, but I've hit a struggle/slump. I feel lost. Alcohol and no motivation and depression has taken over. I seem to have lost my way. Just need some words of wisdom and a kick in the butt from you to know and get back up again. Don't stop what you're doing. You inspire so much. God bless. See you at the top." Well, Martin, struggles and slumps are part of being human. Having struggles and slumps is to be human. Life ain't all sunshine and rainbows. And just as I said, sitting right here, I've had so many struggles with my self-concept. I mean, some of the times where, man, I've been on top of the world, winning world titles, and people talking about, even when I was in Bellator, people talking about me needing to come over to the UFC because I'm the best fighter in the world, or I'm the best lightweight in the world, just feeling the love, feeling the adoration, feeling the bright lights, feeling all the opportunities, and people coming at me left and right with this opportunity and that platform. And still, even in the midst of those accomplishments, or in the midst of that love and the adoration and the feelings of contentment with so many different things, the enemy is always on attack. The enemy is always coming to kill, steal, and destroy. And once again, you guys know I'm a positive person. You guys know I'm trying to see the glass half full at all times in all scenarios. Even every single door that has been locked somehow ended up becoming a door that opened in a different area of my life that turned out to be a blessing. The old Garth Brooks song, "I thank God for unanswered prayers." As humans, we are prone to wander, and we think we want something, but maybe it's not in God's will for our life. Maybe it's not what we are supposed to be doing. Maybe it's a fool's errand. It's something that we are chasing that is really just a distraction that is distracting you from the man or woman that you were supposed to become. And I've had many of those times in my life. So I'm a positive person, but even being a positive person, it is still very good to admit that the devil is always coming to kill, steal, and destroy, and he is always on attack. And it seems as though he knows you better than you know yourself. The enemy knows exactly where the chinks in my armor are. The enemy knows exactly where my weaknesses are. The enemy knows exactly the scenarios to put into my life, or the things that I need to think about or dwell on, the negative things that I need to think about or dwell on, that will in turn make me a less effective human being. And he knows that about you. So that's not me with a doom and gloom message. It's me realizing that even if you are a positive person and you are full of joy and you are full of confident and expectancy that good things are going to happen, you always have to stay on guard at the gate of your mind, because the enemy is always on attack. So when you've hit a slump and you turn to things like alcohol or substances or any other vice or any other thing that just makes you feel like crap after you do it, it feels great in the moment. It feels fun, feels exciting. Maybe it's the endorphins. Maybe it's the feeling that you get, the high that you get, either metaphorically or literally, that always ends up making you feel like crap after. Those are the things that you must avoid, maybe for a season. Now, you mentioned alcohol here. It doesn't mean I'm saying go sober and never drink alcohol for the rest of your life, but there has been times where I'm sure we have all thought, when it comes to alcohol or it comes to anything, I think I'm just not going to do that today. I know what it leads to. And if the future is any predictor, or if the past is any predictor of the future, then how I feel right now, if I don't engage in that today, I'll probably feel better tomorrow. And then you can make one check mark that says, I did it for a day. And it turns into 2 days and 3 days, and it turns into a week. And then all of a sudden you're a little bit more clear-minded. And then all of a sudden, as fate would have it, certain things and certain circumstances and certain chain of events happen that start to help you turn a corner or make a change. And I think, number one, what I would say, as we've always talked about practically, when you're in a struggle, when you're in a slump, number one, acknowledge it. Number one, say, I need help. Whether you're praying to God, whether you are just saying, hey, it's time for me to wake up and be a big boy, to be a big girl, and realize, hey, I'm not where I want to be. I'm in a slump right now, but I've been here before. I've had my back up against the wall before. I felt this way before, and I ended up getting out of it. Have the confident expectancy that what you're going through now will not be what you're going through a month from now, 2 months from now, 6 months from now. Because I do think, as we have said, people can change, and they can change dramatically, but you have to put the work in. You can't expect, as James Allen's books, As a Man Thinketh, James Allen says, men they want their circumstances to change, but they are unwilling to change themselves. And so many times in our lives, we think the circumstances, our circumstances are just random, and they're things that just happen to us. But a lot of times it's because of our thinking, it's because of our actions, it's because of the things that we are engaging in and the people that we are engaging those things with that are turning into the circumstances that we are going through. So Martin, I don't mean to say that you need to make a ton of changes. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, you're failing. I'm really talking to myself. These are things that I have learned over the years, because slumps happen, struggles happen. Sometimes they're a day, sometimes they're a month, sometimes they're a year. But ultimately putting in the work, waking up in the morning, starting your day with thank you, ending your day with thank you, getting in your gratitude journal, writing the things down, having a checklist of to-dos that I can get done today. That 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I know I can get done, check them off to say, I can trust myself. And if I can trust myself with these small things, I will then eventually, in a compounding fashion, be able to be trusted with the big things in my life, the big goals in my life, those big, hairy, audacious dreams and goals and aspirations that I have. But it starts with the small disciplines. It starts with the small things, the small steps. How do you eat an elephant? One little bite at a time. So it's the small steps that lead to the big, big goals and accomplishments. So it pains me to have you say that you have lost your way, but you haven't lost your way. You're still Martin. You're still on a trajectory to become the man that you will become. and that you are supposed to become. You're just taking a little pit stop off to a season that may be painful, a season that may bring about doubts, a season that may have life-altering consequences if you continue to engage in them, because we all have. But people can change, and they can change dramatically. So get in your gratitude journal, wake up in the morning, say thank you in the morning and thank you at night, and start to visualize. What is the man that I want to become? What does he look like? What does he feel in every single scenario, in his social interactions, in his work environment, in his workouts? Even if he's walking his dog, what is he looking in his mind's eye at? The target that he is trying to hit, that perfect depiction of the man that he wants to become. Why can't we see that person in our mind? And I think with time and practice, you can eventually see that. And you start to open up these doors, and you start to peel back the layers and start peeling back the onion, so to speak, of the insecurities and the doubts and the fears that lead to the lack of self-image and lack of self-concept that, if worked on, will continue to improve. So thank you, Martin, for that. And thank you for showing some vulnerability and saying that you've hit a slump and that you've even turned to alcohol and you have no motivation and depression, because they do take over. And it seems like they're there forever. It seems like they parked the RV of depression in your front yard and ripped out the engine to never run again. And it's just going to sit there for the rest of your life. But people can change, and they can change dramatically. And the story that you tell yourself every single day and the lies that you tell yourself every single day are the only things that are really going to continue to hold yourself back. So believe that you can change, believe that you will get better, surround yourself with the best people possible, make changes that make you feel good. Do one thing every single day that makes you feel good. Something that will increase your trust in yourself. And bit by boring bit, bite by bite, step by step, you cover the ground between you and the man or woman that you want to become. Thank you, Martin. But that about does it. Martin, Thomas, Georgie, Joseph, Stephen, Luis from Peru, all the way from Peru. Man, I appreciate you guys. As I've said, if you want to accomplish anything great in life, there's going to be a lot of struggle between you and that accomplishment. There's going to be days that you feel like Martin said that he has felt. There's going to be days that I have sat here and told you I have felt less than, lowlier than thou, not deserving of accomplishment, not deserving of the things that I sit here and say on this microphone. I want to be world champion. I want to be this successful entrepreneur. I want to be a guy who has a platform and impacts millions of people. And then all of a sudden that imposter jumps into my mind and says, nah, that's not you, man. It's not you. You're a small guy from a small town. Don't forget that. But as I said, and I've said before, we all have demons that we fight. We all have struggles that we have. And as I said, some dragons we slay, and some dragons we just get really good at pushing into a corner. That small guy from the small town who was taught to do small things, I'll probably never slay him. He's probably going to be with me the rest of his life, or the rest of my life. But I've gotten very good at silencing the voice. I've gotten very good at turning down the volume of the voice. And I've gotten pretty darn good in seasons at times of duct taping him to a pole in the bottom of, in the basement of my mind with a big old roll of duct tape around his mouth. And I've done a very good job of that many times. But then somehow that pesky little guy from the little town ends up popping back up. And I think to sit here and admit that to you guys unlocks a certain vulnerability and a certain accountability and a certain liability that I must continue to work toward it. Because if I ever did slay it, why would I ever need God? Why would I ever need to continue to improve? Why would I ever need to continue to better myself? And that was some advice that I got from John Gordon. Awesome author. I've read all of his books. If you haven't read John Gordon, He's got some amazing books, easy reads, short reads. I did his podcast one day and we got done recording. And I said, yeah, John, I just wish I could just kill that little guy from the little town who was taught to do little things and just get rid of him. And I never have to hear from him again. He said, well, Michael, then what would you need God for? I said, you're right. As we said, some dragons you're able to slay and some you're just get really good at pushing into a corner and duct tape into the basement of your mind. But the enemy is always on attack. But people can change and they can change dramatically. And as we continue to go through the series of vicissitudes, the ups and downs, the peaks and the valleys, we continue to get better. And even when we lose, we keep on winning in some form or fashion. With every door closed, we walk to another door that opens. In the words of the great NF, the door's locked, but the keys are in your hands. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your questions. Send them in to podcast@michaelchandler.com. That about does it for us today. And this has been really fun for me. And I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys' support on the fight front. Hopefully some things are materializing here very soon. And we'll get a fight announcement or we'll get some kind of announcement coming soon. But rest assured, every single day I will be working diligently to become the man that God created me to be, and I will fail many, many times, probably every single day. But failure is a constant, and we will continue to move forward and trod forward. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. God bless. I'll see you at the top.